You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
All right, guys, well, welcome to our brand new podcast. It's kind of new. It's not totally new to us because we've all done this before with all of you. But welcome. We're back, and we are ready to launch a brand new, I don't know, would you call it a season of podcasting? I guess?
It's a new era. You think about it, because the broadcast radio era is over.
Yeah.
And so many people have listened to Mike on News Talk 1290 here in Wichita Falls for many years.
Yeah.
And Mike is no longer in the air. Terry and I joined him for many years. I actually had shows on News Talk 1290 for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And then the three of us have been together for quite a while. So anyhow, that era is over. So we're moving to streaming, going digital, but we've done some of this before.
Yep. We have. So yeah, it's nothing new to any of us. We're no strangers to any of this. So we got a few things we want to talk about on this show. A few things we want to address with you, and we're going to kind of kick it off this morning. Well, Trey kind of did an outline for us of what we're going to talk about today a little bit.
Yeah, actually, real quickly, listen, in case we have new listeners or watchers or whatever it is.
Viewers.
Let's introduce ourselves real quickly, and kind of just talk about what we're planning on.
We could do that. Okay. We could do that. So, see, I just kind of assume everybody knows who we are.
Yeah, well,
we're so famous.
Yeah.
Hold them back when we're out.
Well, we've been around as long as we have.
Not everybody's been at the post office to see your picture on the wall there.
That's true. All right. Well, I guess I'll start. Okay, so I'm Mike Hendren, 22-year broadcast veteran in radio, and now diving into the world of podcasting full-time, and have been born and raised in Wichita Falls, Texas, Wichita County resident my whole life, licensed real estate agent, and pretty much anything for a buck kind of a guy.
Now a serial entrepreneur, it sounds like.
Pretty much.
I mean, he's got he's got his hands on a lot of things.
Yeah, I do. When you say it that way, it almost sounds creepy when you think
I was going to say.
Well,
it depends on whose pants you're in. So.
Okay, so anyway, your turn.
Who?
You, Terry.
Okay. I'm Terry.
You're the man in the middle.
Yeah, I'm Terry McAdams. I'm with MacTech Solutions. It's my business I've had since 1996, even while I was still in the Air Force, active duty here at Shepherd Air Force Base. Yeah. Arrived here in 95. Took the business part-time anyway, in the evenings and the weekends, 1996. I just found out that people wanted me to help them with their computers in the evenings and the weekends, and so I did that. And then I retired in 2004, took the business full-time, and just over the years just been in 2 or 3 4. Well, actually, I guess it depends on which one, but 3 or 4 major locations, and we're here in Finishing Touch Plaza now, and we are an Apple dealer, but we help out our customers. But the thing with how I met Mike was through the radio station, obviously. I hooked up with the sales. What was that? Will? But anyway, salesperson from the radio station. We got an idea, and it was a tech tip thing. Got on the radio when it was the Rise and Shine show. That he was the producer and co-host and all of that. Yeah. And so then evolved into hanging out with him once a week, and so that's really kind of there. And I think I try to bring a tech perspective on a lot of topics and things here, and I might have an opinion or two on other stuff. So
1 or 2,
but I don't know if that probably hopefully does a pretty good little quick and dirty. But if you want to know more, you can go to our website, obviously, and read up on. You can find us out later as we go along.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah,
Mr. Sorella.
Be careful what's going to come up if you Google search Terry McAdams.
Oh,
You never know.
You just never know.
My name is Trey Sorella. My business is Eddie Hills Fun Cycles. Been here in the power sports business in Wichita Falls since 1966. I haven't been in the power sports business since 1966, since I was only born in 1971. But I grew up here. I've been there since 1992. So this is going on my 33rd year, I guess, in one location. Former school board member, WFISD for 12 years. Currently the president of the Texas Motorcycle Dealer Association. Very involved with charities and that sort of thing. But my main business is power sports, motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, and that sort of thing. And like I said before, have actually been on the radio on a couple of stations here in Wichita Falls, always on a part-time, never on a real thing, just had shows here and there. But I've been on the radio with Mike for almost 15 years straight in one form or other. Not nearly as much as he has, but just once a week or once every 2 weeks or a couple times a week or whatnot. So.
Well, and another thing that Trey has done too is you've also done sports play-by-play.
Yes,
our high school alma mater, the Hershey Huskies.
Yes, yep.
And possibly even maybe doing some more of that down the line.
Yeah. I've enjoyed doing that. That's kind of one of my hobbies is doing high school football broadcast play-by-play or streaming. And there's going to be 2 high schools here in town next year, going from 3 to 2, and I don't know if I'll continue doing that, but I enjoy doing it and may end up doing that again as well. So we might be talking about a little bit of that and some opportunities to get your name or your word out there during high school football.
Yeah, and I think he glossed over one part that he was the president of the school board for a period of his tenure on the school board.
For a couple of years.
Yeah. So that, I don't want you to get away with that, without saying that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Definitely got a little bit of political experience here with Trey. So he brings that perspective to it for sure. Well, I do want to mention so our local state representative James Frank got some town halls coming up.
Yes.
Here in the very near future. Trey's got some information on that. When are those coming up?
Well, I don't have the rundown of it. Really, you could go on James Frank. He has a newsletter, which, by the way, if you live in this area, it's a good idea to get signed up with James Frank's newsletter. It's pretty informative. Yep. It comes out, I think, once a week during legislative session and once every 2 or 3 weeks when it's not legislative session. I'm not sure if you go to the website or you could contact the local office and they can let you know when the town halls are. I did attend the first one. It was in Clay County. Got a couple of tips. Number one, don't dominate the damn thing. We had 2 people there who probably took up – we were there probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I would say that there were 2 individuals that took up probably an hour of that. Wow. Or 45 minutes. It was ridiculous. I understand everybody's passionate. And by the way, what you don't understand is I'm just as passionate about my stuff as you are about your stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay? But I'm also considerate of other people and understand that just because my issue is big to me, it's not big to everybody else. Yeah. And you have people that just want to keep on and on. Mm-hmm. And especially when it gets very specific and they want to talk about their individual thing. James Frank is a state representative for – I don't know how many people he represents, 150,000 people or something like that.
Tens of thousands anyway.
Well, I believe it's 150. I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
I think he talked about, I think what they do is every 10 years they have a census and they take 150,000 people and they break up their state representatives. I think those numbers are right. It's something close to that.
All right.
So understand, his area encompasses 150,000 people. Spending a whole bunch of time on your specific thing in a town hall setting when there's other people there who are there to listen and speak and like that it's really inconsiderate. So that's just a little tip from Trey. Right. When you're doing something like that, don't try to dominate the conversation.
And you're going to have a more effect. You're going to be more effective if you narrow that down to your top issue. Yeah. And you have to kind of see where there may be a benefit to other people, not just yourself.
Well, and also what happens is, look, it's like anything else. I might be on board with you for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But by the next 10 minutes, I'm kind of getting off board with you. I may agree in principle what you're doing, but I don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying? Or I don't like your delivery anymore. And I'm looking at you as a narcissist.
Suddenly you fall out of favor.
Because you're trying to dominate the conversation. So, that's just a tip. But I would recommend people go to these town halls. You need to get involved locally. I've been beating the drum about this. Yeah. We love to talk about the White House. We love to talk about Congress. We love to talk about national issues.
Sure.
National issues. Now, the border is a really big difference right now. Well, this is affecting everybody.
It covers 2 areas. It covers us directly because we're Texans, and secondly, it's a national issue. So,
and it's sucking a lot of resources. That's the biggest thing.
Sure is.
But for the most part, national issues don't matter as much as local issues do for your day-to-day basis. Most of your taxing has come from local. And your state representatives, your county officials, your city official, your school board officials. Don't forget on that. When you talk about taxes, of your property taxes, the number one component of your property taxes is school district.
That's right.
So be involved in who's setting your tax rate at the school board level.
Yep, definitely.
That's my 2 cents.
It looks like his next town halls are coming up in Motley and Cottle County on the 20th of February.
Where are those?
That's out west.
It's out west. Motley County Courthouse, 10 a.m. In Cottle County, the City County Library in Paducah on the 20th at noon that day. And then on Thursday, the 22nd, he'll be in Wichita and Archer counties. 10 a.m. at the Grove in Burke Burnett. 1:30 p.m. at the Electra Memorial Hospital Education Center at 1:30 p.m. on the 22nd. And 4 p.m. at the Community Center in Holiday on the 22nd in Archer County. So, and for those of you that are watching or listening that don't live around here, Wichita and Archer County are like this.
And Clay.
Neighbors.
It's actually there's three counties that converge right here at Wichita Falls, right south of Wichita Falls. Clay County,
Correct.
Archer County, and Wichita County.
Correct.
Terry and I both live in Clay County.
Yeah.
You have a Wichita Falls address, don't
Right.
you? I do too. Yeah. We both pay Henrietta. We live in Clay County. We pay Henrietta school district tax.
No, I'm
Petrolia?
Petrolia.
Okay, you pay Petrolia. I pay Henrietta,
Right.
which are both in Clay County, but we both have Wichita Falls addresses.
That's right. And
it's kind of strange.
And that's the zip code 76. I'm 76305.
I'm 76310.
Right, but 305 is this huge that covers the north of the base as well as west of town as well. So I'm sorry, east of town.
By the way, Motley County, didn't it sound like a place that they just beat the hell out of each other?
Yeah.
But by the way, if you don't know, when most of these counties have names, Motley was one of the original founders of the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you hear some of these counties that you're like, well, where did they come up with that name? And it doesn't sound familiar. There's a great museum in Washington on the Brazos, if you ever get a chance, that talks about the years that Texas was a country.
Right.
And it focuses just on those years from the battle at San Jacinto,
Yes.
you know, where Texas officially became its own entity country with Mexico's surrender, to when Texas was annexed by the United States.
Yep.
And that whole that museum focuses on those time. And Motley was one of the original founding people that signed the Texas Declaration of Independence and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the border, Trey, and it's worth mentioning that we here in Texas, we've got the biggest portion of the international border with Mexico. Stretches from basically Brownsville all the way out to El Paso. And we have the biggest challenges in terms of the physical control of that border because the federal government's not doing their job. They're not taking care of it, and we're having to do it ourselves. And we have this, this ongoing battle now between our state and our governor and our legislature and the federal government and the current administration that's doing absolutely zero. And we have this constant now expense, if you will, of protecting this border. It has already cost Texans billions of dollars to keep this border as secure as we can, to the greatest degree that we can.
Given the limitations as well.
Right.
Well, the physical limitations, logistical limitations,
And legal limitations.
legal limitations that we're apparently now basically just going screw the limit, screw legal limitations, and we have limited resources. We've only got so many people we can put down there. We're actually, and this has been going on for a couple of years now. We are reallocating resources. We are moving people in the Texas DPS, Texas game wardens, moving them out of their counties where they normally work and sending them to the border and refocusing their efforts on the border.
Right, and that's affecting our local areas where they're coming from.
That's right.
Leaving a gap of coverage, if you will, from a law enforcement perspective, and then you're also affecting their families. I mean,
Exactly.
you're deploying. It's like a military deployment almost. Now,
Pretty much. Yeah.
I don't know what all the legal ramifications of someone trying to decline that if they didn't want to go, but I'm quite sure most of them are all for helping out. But then for them to have to go down there for months and in a couple of years on end. That's kind of crazy.
What I have been told, guys, by people that I've been communicating with that are part of the DPS or other organizations that are working down there, very few people that have been asked to go there and work the border have said no. Right. Very few have declined.
Well, they might not really have much of a choice. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
It's not the military. They're not going to throw you in prison, but you may lose your job.
Yeah.
May lose your career.
But very few people, I'm told, have said no. Right. Most people understand that how important this job is, the fact that we don't have the feds doing their job that they normally would be doing to protect this.
And should be doing.
And
by the way, look, we need to make this very clear. I don't think there's anybody that is besmirching the name of the Border Patrol agents.
Oh no.
I don't think most of the Border Patrol agents, if you look at the National Border Patrol Agent Association and all them, all their representatives, they're saying constantly, this is not a Border Patrol agent issue. This is Mayorkas, Biden, the very, very pinnacle of the Border Patrol. That's who's causing this problem.
Well, speaking of Mayorkas, the U.S. House of Representatives were set to vote on, or they did vote on his impeachment. That vote was defeated by 3 Republicans who joined Democrats in voting against or voted no on the Mayorkas impeachment. Those representatives were Tom McClintock from California, Ken Buck, Republican from Colorado, and Mike Gallagher, Republican from Wisconsin.
And the one that bothers me is Ken Buck, because he's got a cool name. I mean, does that sound like a guy that would vote against impeachment? That sounds like a guy that would come in and try to kick your ass.
Well,
I'm Ken Buck.
Yeah, almost like a professional wrestler.
Yeah. He's going to go to the border with a knife, one of those big Bowie knives in his teeth, and stop the immigrants.
Well, their argument against voting for the impeachment is that they didn't feel that Mayorkas had, at this point, done anything that reached the level of impeachment. Their fear here is that we were setting the bar too low, and not
So wait a minute. So Mayorkas obviously dereliction of duty that we have data, hard raw data to point to, because the amount of gotaways and the amount of illegal immigration that's happening during his watch and with his policies. That is too low a bar, but yet you're going to impeach a former president for an insurrection that was never charged with insurrection.
Right.
It was never proven, never charged in a court of law.
Right.
Yeah. What a bar.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and here's another interesting take on this, and something that I had to kind of, I probably didn't have to deal with it as much as maybe some of the higher ranking officers and things, but if in this case, if you're, I mean, who's their boss? Who's Mayorkas' boss?
I'm assuming Biden.
Yeah, Biden, right? Because the
he's one
department
step-
chairs or was it department chair? No, not chairman, but the head of the departments.
He's the secretary.
Or secretary. There you go. Secretaries
He's in the cabinet.
work for the president, and so the president obviously is laying this agenda out and laying down the way they want things to go.
Or somebody who's running the show up there.
But here's the thing, though: they took an oath of that office to abide by the Constitution. And so that's where we, as a military member, we actually have an obligation to decline illegal orders.
Well, exactly. For instance,
and so it's not about. That's the whole thing about this, is that it's not. It's like a police officer also has. They are supposed to, if they're able to take someone's rights away, or they're able to do things like, as far as a military member, in theory, you could go rape and pillage a village, but if there's no strategic value, no true war benefit to defeat the enemy, then that is against the law. I mean, you've broken the law, and so that's why you've got to follow the law, even if you're given an illegal order. That's a hard thing to do.
Well, you think, perfect example, when you said police, that's a good one. For a police officer, you have commanders. If you're a police officer and you arrest a suspect, and you take him in, and the chief of police says, put a bullet in his brain right now, and you do it,
right, you're both bad.
You're both in trouble. Yeah, you're not just bad. You're both. You're both in trouble.
Right.
Now you've committed murder.
Right.
And just similar, like you said in the military, if a commander tells you to go bomb a village, and it's a village of a bunch of innocent people, and a bomber or the airplane, the pilot says, "No, I'm not doing that."
Right.
They can bring him up on charges, but he ultimately will win because if he could prove and say, "Wait a minute,
Right.
you told me to bomb a village of 20, unarmed people or something like that." So, exactly. You're perfectly right about that. So you don't have to follow a direct order if it's contrary to the law.
Right. Exactly. So
somebody can't compel you.
Right.
Somebody cannot compel you to break the law. They can't do it in contract. They can't compel you to break the law.
Nope. And then and he has an obligation to refuse that order. He then and in the case he has to, he may get asked to resign, and that's just the unfortunate
gives the
part.
berries.
Right. And that's a political aspect of our government. And that's just the way it is. And
well, the good news is you're allowed to resign instead of somebody like Russia or something like that, where you just disappear if you disagree with Putin.
Yeah, that in China.
You're absolutely right. It's ridiculous that these Republicans decided to not go through impeachment. Look, we all know that the Senate probably would not convict him.
Oh yeah. It was,
and I'm not big on wasting time and things like that, but there are some times you have to make a statement,
right?
And this is one of them. So
well, and that it absolutely would send a message. Impeaching him would absolutely send a message. This whole situation with the border, the thing is a dumpster fire, and it has been now for 3 years. And you look at the numbers. You had the president out there saying that the whole border issue is all Donald Trump's fault. Look at the numbers between 2020 and 2023 and how those numbers of people crossing the border illegally, the number of gotaways, the people, and you look at, matter of fact, I shared a video the other day that somebody had posted. There are Chinese nationals crossing the border, people from Russia.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, those Chinese nationals, they were carrying like good luggage. Yeah, and dressed well.
All of these people are well dressed. They're clearly not starving. They're well fed. They're clean. They don't look like they've been walking through the desert for 4 or 5 days, trying to reach the border.
That's a perfect example. I was at let's go back to local. There was a candidate for him. We have our Senate District 30.
Yeah.
Our current state senator, Drew Springer, is going to retire after his term is up, which basically he's still in office for the rest of this year. But so there are several people that are running for his position. I think there's 7. Wow. I believe that's right. At the candidate, there's 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats. Wow. At this candidate forum that was held at Midwestern State University here in town, 2 of the Democrats were there and all 4 of the Republicans. One of the Democrats, and this guy, actually, I told him afterwards, I said, I'd like to come to your church and just listen to you preach. He's been a barber for 51 years and a preacher for like 32 years. And he's a really great pastor. Wow. I don't agree with him at all on his assessment of things, but he speaks well. And, he speaks with conviction, the way he's inspiring to listen to. Yeah. But he made a comment, and he was talking about somebody brought up about the border. And he talked about this whole thing about this guy walked 3,200 miles, and all he wanted was a job. I agree that happens.
Sure.
But that's not the majority.
No.
And by the way, what about the people that already live here who are part of our American system who already paid taxes? What about them getting those jobs? Exactly. And I hear this crap about people doing these jobs that Americans won't do. Americans, who do you think built this country? Americans won't do it for free.
No.
And by the way, this is why I've been saying for years, the people we have to go after to stop this illegal immigration crap is the employers.
Yeah.
You go in, you have that E-Verify system, but not only that, we catch you as an employer at hiring somebody illegally, you go to prison.
Right.
You lose your business, you lose everything. You go to prison.
That's right.
Okay? If you do that, that will stop this because people won't risk. Some people will, but let them go to prison. Most people that have a business will not risk.
Well, yeah, because
Terry, would you risk your livelihood and your freedom to try to save a few bucks?
No,
you can't.
No.
You have to look at it risk reward.
No.
Okay, the reward to these people that are the illegal immigrants are they have no risk. They come in. what's the worst that can happen? They get deported back to where they were from. So there's almost zero risk. The reward is they might get to come to America, live in America, disappear into America, can get a job in America.
Well, yeah, it's all laid out by the actions of our president have created this demand of people saying, "Oh,
it's a magnet.
Go up there," and it's a magnet, and they're going up there. They're coming here, and this is crazy.
What I want to know is why we don't have everybody in the media jumping up and down, screaming and shouting, demanding answers as to why we have people literally being flown from the other side of the planet to they're either being flown into Central America and then transported into Mexico, or they're being flown directly into Mexico. Obviously, the cartels have some sort of a role in getting these people close enough to the border that they can then walk into the USA. Who's financing this? Somebody, some entity, some country, someone somewhere is financing these flights. These people are not getting, they're not,
you sure they're not on a raft from Africa or China?
Pretty damn sure.
A homemade raft?
Pretty sure.
So I have a question.
Although Gilligan's Island, they were stranded on that island for 37 years and had the exact same clothes the whole time and looked great.
I was wondering how the Harlem Globetrotters showed up there and then got off the island, and Gilligan and them couldn't get off the island.
I'm telling you. And by the way, let me just settle the debate right now. Ginger, Marianne. It's Marianne all the way, baby.
There you go.
All the way.
Mrs. Howell.
So, hey. Okay.
You a sick puppy.
So, real quick question.
Okay, yes.
What are the numbers?
Lover.
What are the numbers of people that we've allowed under the Biden administration to come into the United States?
If you look it up, it says a shitload, I think. Officially what the number is.
Okay. Well, I need
it's a lot.
I mean, is it million? A million?
We're in the millions.
Okay.
We're in
so
the
let's
millions.
say it's a million. Whatever it is. If 1%, and I don't know if that's even a real number, but let's just throw out 1% of a million. What is 1% of a million? So a million, 100,000, 10,000. How many people did it take to pull off 9/11?
19.
19. Okay.
19 hijackers were involved, and probably at least another dozen people in the planning.
Let's say 100 people.
But
let's say 100 people.
It's even 100 people. If of a million people, so 0.01% or something.
So 10, yeah.
Right.
That of all those people, that the numbers are overwhelmingly, in as far as odds of somebody getting through, that are being routed through,
right,
and coming up and walking, and that's their mission, and they're terrorists. That is crazy.
Or even if you're just going to say, let's take the terrorism out, but are just criminals.
Oh, yeah.
There's a percentage of people that are already criminals, no matter where you're from, including America. There's a percentage of people that are already criminals, especially if you go into people that are desperate, that are poor, and stuff like that. Those numbers go up exponentially. So just say we let in 10,000 more criminals. We already have plenty of criminals of our own. Now we got more criminals?
Here's a number. Let me throw a number at you. This is based on the Judiciary Committee's report on the number of illegals that have entered the U.S. During the first 26 months of Biden's presidency, DHS released at least 2,148,738 illegal aliens into the United States. Again, this is according to a Judiciary Committee report.
And that's released. This means people were caught and released.
Yeah, this doesn't count. This is not taking into account the gotaways, the people that totally escaped the DHS apprehension. The committee found that only 5,993 of those encountered at the southern border were placed in removal proceedings. And by the way, it's worth mentioning, when you talk about the removal proceedings, so among these 5,000, nearly 6,000 people, some of these people have been given a court date. Some of those court dates are 15 to 18 years away.
Years?
Yeah.
Years away. Not months.
I know we're going to have to wind this down because we talked about trying to get down to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
On our next episode,
yes,
I have a theory about homelessness and that sort of thing, and it ties into this.
Right.
And so on our next episode, I want to explore that. You guys might say I'm full of shit, but let's be fair. And I think both of you have been around, but Mike and I have been around here a long time. How many times have I come up with a theory, Mike, and within 5 years, I called it.
It comes in the news. It finally gets revealed.
He has a better track record than Puxatawny Phil could ever hope for. I'm just going to tell you that.
And I want to.
I'm not nearly as cute
much
though.
better.
Before.
And if he sees his shadow, y'all better get in the bomb shelter. I'm just telling you.
Well, if I want to add to a couple quick things on that thought. So first of all, the Democrats or the liberals that are for making this easier for people to get into the country like they have been. So they have very little to lose.
Yeah.
Because our Congress is what the drunken sailor, spending like a drunken sailor, whatever the term is.
Crazy money.
And
money.
we're taking money. So we have our veterans and things. I think we'd all like to think that our veterans, and even if it's not just our veterans, our own people, regardless of their situation.
Yeah.
And you're talking about homelessness and all that. And so if we're going to take all this money and we're going to throw it at, we'd like to put it towards those kind of programs, and I think we'd all agree that there's a certain investment we need to do in that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But they don't. So what they're saying is, well, you're taking money away from veterans and this and that. You could be spending. Well, no. What they're doing is just expanding the debt, and they're just kicking the can down the road, right?
But where they really are taking things, the resources, they're taking places. There's like New York City, Chicago, and things like that. There's kids that don't have after school programs because of physical locations. That's not has to do with money. That's not printing money.
Right. That's in the short term. Absolutely.
People can't play their kids. Can you imagine how pissed off you'd be if you were an American citizen, paid your taxes, and you had an after school program someplace for your kid? And by the way, most of these are poor kids. Right. The wealthy kids or the upper middle class kids that live out in the suburbs. And forget color. I'm tired of this. This shit. I'm gonna say it. We're not on the radio. I'm tired of this shit about color. It has nothing to do with color. It's have and have-nots.
Yep.
I recognize this. I've been saying this for years and years about when I was on the school board, watching test scores and achievement scores and that sort of stuff. It has nothing to do with color. It has to do with poor and not poor. There's plenty of white people that fail.
Yep.
Because they're poor and they don't have the resources or the home life. Okay, so it's not a color thing, but what I'm saying is most of this affects these poor kids. A lot of them are people of color, but there's plenty of white kids that get affected. They just don't make the news because they're after-school programs. They can't do those. They're parks that they play their sports on, their soccer and their football and all that. They can't do those because the illegal immigrants are taking up those spaces and the city's letting them do it. I'm telling you, it's bullshit. So, but we can explore that, and we need to explore that in depth. I think on our next show,
we'll do that. Join us for our next episode of this podcast coming up very soon. Look for us a new release every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the plan. Yeah. We'll have a new podcast out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You'll be able to find us on YouTube. Yeah. You'll be able to find us on Spotify.
And Apple Podcasts, all that. We're gonna need some, and we'd like to get feedback too. Yeah. So please let us know your thoughts, and things you'd like us to cover, and all of that.
Yeah. Am I pretty enough?
Yeah.
Let me know. Anyway, we'll see you next time.